What is up, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, where we are covering night two of Wrestle Kingdom 14. And I am your host well, not as always, but as for this okay, for the New Japan stuff as always, Callum Wiggins, and joining me is Robert D. Felice.
The way you said night two, it really sounded like Naito. And, well, there you go.
Yeah, that might be what we just rename it to. This is night two of Wrestle Kingdom 14. But we'll definitely be talking a lot about him towards the end of this broadcast. But if you haven't already checked out our night one review, then go ahead and do that because a lot of that predicates what happens on the second night of Wrestle Kingdom. And yeah, also just hit the subscribe button if you're listening on YouTube, like the video, hit the bell for notifications. And if you're listening on the podcast feed, just leave a rating or review and then switch over to YouTube if you want to drop some comments below. All right, that admin out of the way. Let's get going because we want to try and get this one a little bit tighter than last one. We're all a bit. I think it's fair to say, especially with you doing a lot of coverage for it, we're probably all a bit Wrestle Kingdom out now.
And we're not recording for context immediately after because I did not sleep after Wrestle Kingdom Night 1, so I needed at least a few hours to recharge and be able to talk about this.
Yeah, we're not Tony. We can't operate on a negative number amount of sleep. So we have to take a bit more of a break. So we've done this a little bit while. It's given us a bit of a chance to digest the results and the things that happened. So let's get into it then. So I think first of all, the one thing we have to address is that the night two attendance wasn't significantly below the first one, but it was noticeable.
10,000 less people, so night 1 drew about 40,000, and night 2 only drew slightly above 30,000. And I want to know what you think about that. Do you think that is in direct response to what the main event ended up being? Do you think that's in direct response to any specific match not being on the card? What do
I
you think?
think it's just something along the lines of it's probably a mixture of things. Fixture that fact that certain matches weren't set in stone for the second night, so people couldn't exactly pick and choose if they wanted to go to one show over the other one for whatever reason. Uh, just fatigue from the first show. Like the fact that this was the first time they were doing it, so certain people even might not have, I would say they wouldn't have been aware, but they weren't too interested about going to two consecutive shows. The fact that one of them was on a Sunday or one on a Saturday, which maybe that has something to do with it, but I'm sure there's a lot of factors predicating the reason why it dropped lower than it did.
Yeah, I I really got the feeling that a lot of this night was a little filler, and even though I agree with the decision of splitting it up into two nights, maybe because of the attendance drop, we don't see this return.
Potentially, I feel like maybe it was just a bit overkill. The crowd wasn't as good as it was for night one, except for the final two matches when they and the Liger stuff when they actually came alive. The rest of it, they were pretty quiet for the most part. So maybe it's an experiment at the moment, and they'll have to change things up if they decide to do this again next year. But yeah, it's just the way things go. So it was worth the attempt to do.
I agree. I think the good thing about this is with the gimmick of the double gold dash, if you don't do that again next year, you have a good excuse for not bringing it back. Like, oh, we knew we weren't going to do another double gold dash, so we didn't bring back the two-night special.
Yeah, that'd be fair enough. But we started off with the one and only pre-show match, which was the Gauntlet match for the Never Openweight Six-Man Tag Team Championships. Uh,
Have you
so
ever heard a commentary team crack on the state of championship? The way this.
yeah, it's they know that it's a bit of a joke title, and a lot of other people know that it's a bit of a joke championship. But I I I know it's your boss buddy talking about the number of championships in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh, which so yes, Sean Rossap just wrapping up his night two and night one review show. I would like to see some mergers of championships, specifically a lot of the tag team championships.
I
I don't
think
think they serve purpose.
I think the definitive one, if I was to say one of them, because I don't really mind the number of championships. The definitive one for me is the junior and the heavyweight tag team championship should be merged. I don't feel like it serves a purpose to have two separate weight divisions for the tag team titles.
I feel like
But
if you merge those two, and if the 6-man belt kind of faded away, they wouldn't be missed, and then you'd have a much more clear vision of what you're doing in New Japan.
well, see, I like the 6-man tag team titles just because the fact that they do a lot of multi-man tag team matches, and I feel it has a place there. They would need to utilize it more, but realistically, it's just an extra title to have along. I don't feel like it hurts anybody. Like people that hold it just adds like a modicum of stakes to a match, which otherwise wouldn't matter.
That's fair.
But we started off this one with the team of Bullet Club, which was Bad Luck Fale, Yujiro, Takahashi, and Chase Owens, against a Chaos team of Yoshi-Hashi, Tomohiro, Ishii, and Robbie Eagles.
Is there a bigger? I don't want to call him a jabroni, but I can't find another word. Like just a more vanilla superstar than Chase Owens.
That was probably the running story for him in this match, was the fact they were talking on commentary about the fact that Chase Owens has never won a championship in his entire time at New Japan. Not even this never openweight 6-man tag team titles.
But he's kind of homesteaded in Japan, right?
He's been like there for a while, and he's like firmly established as, I guess, the go-to job guy for the Bullet Club, and he's been there for a while. So it is a bit surprising that he hasn't been given even just like a cursory, okay, you've been here for a while, you deserve just to hold
A
a title
6-man
for a little
title
while.
or
Yeah, just to hold it for a
yeah.
little while. But I think the most disappointing thing about aspect of this first match was that Peter didn't join the Bullet Club for
Yes.
this one for some reason.
So
Uh,
when I see the Tokyo Pimp,
mm,
I want to see Peter.
yeah,
Then again, no Peter's not.
yeah. It's it kind of diminishes his character because he doesn't do anything else really that really makes too much of an impact. But you just have a good match, a goodish match here. Wasn't anything special. Owens temporarily gets like the better of Ishii in a strike exchange, but then Owens is hit with the brainbuster and Bullet Club are eliminated. Uh, Basically, this isn't the Bullet Club's night, in pretty much any capacity apart from one, which we'll talk about later. But
Is it time for maybe a change of sorts?
well, I feel like there might be some things that we can speculate on going forward.
Oh
But
yes.
but next up is the Suzuki-gun team of Taichi, El Desperado, and Yoshihiro Kanemaru. Again, this is just another decent, like, just battle between these guys. Taichi continues to look fairly impressive, but this was more of a showcase for Robbie Eagles. He does about 8 go behinds with Kanemaru, and then Eagles rolls him up to eliminate him. So the Chaos team have cleared out 2 people. And then we go into Lij turning up, which is Shingo, Takagi, Evil, and Bushi. So they're there for a little while. At this point, I had noted a commentary talking about the fact that like both the infrequency of like the titles being defended, and that they have a 90-day defense clause, which obviously is far greater than the WWE's thing. But obviously, New Japan is a lot more infrequent with their special events. So yeah, we get like this decent showcase of these. Like, this is probably, as a match, the best quote unquote match of the Gauntlet. Until the end, which was probably the most one of the biggest botches on a Wrestle Kingdom show that I might have recalled, which is Evil hits the Darkness Falls on Ishii, but Ishii's supposed to kick out 2, but the referee counts the 3 anyway. And so he's eliminated. Evil decides to actually hit Everything Is Evil for good measure after the bell. But yeah, that's it's a rare misstep in terms of like in ring stuff for New Japan. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but the referee himself wasn't Japanese. I believe he was American. And there has been people that have noted the fact that the more like inbuilt New Japan Japanese referees are very, very deliberate in the space that they leave between the 2 count and the 3 count. So maybe this guy wasn't so much clued in on that side of things, and so he didn't stall long enough, so he was the one that counted 3. So it's a bit of a faux pas by him, but I'm pretty sure Lij was winning that match anyway, so it didn't really hurt the flow too much. But then we move on to the final spot, which is the champions coming into the match, which were Toru Yano, Togi Makabe, and Ryusuke Taguchi. So they battled Lij for a little while. It's not, again, saying just a few nice comedy spots by Yano. Taguchi does the bulk of the in-ring work for his team, lands 3 amigos on Shingo. He hits the Dodon, which he used to defeat Jyushin Liger in Liger's first retirement match the previous night. But Taguchi does kick out of it. Not Taguchi, Shingo kicks out of that, should I say. But then he's missed it in the face by Bushi. Shingo hits Made in Japan, and Lij win the titles, which I predicted in advance because I expected a big night for Lij to just like have a big celebration overall. And there's good fast-paced action. There's a few botch spots, but other than that, it was I think it's one of these good things to have as a recurrent theme on these pre-shows for Wrestle Kingdom.
I thought the 6-man tag gauntlet was good. I missed the Rumble. I'm not gonna lie.
I think they should do the Rumble. If they do continue the 2-night thing, they should do the Rumble at one night and this on the other night.
I agree. That would be perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like maybe the first one was just a bit lacking in terms of it. It would have been like just better to put people like Nagata and Tenzan and people like that in a Rumble as opposed to just instant meaningless matches. But yeah, it's good here. Lij winning, result I expected, and also the thing that was noted here from a commentary towards the end of this show was that they reinforced the fact that absolutely nothing has been revealed about New Year's Dash yet.
Yeah,
so we have no idea what matches will be taking place or who's going to be. The only thing we know that's definitely happening in New Year's Dash is there's going to be a ceremony to celebrate the career of Jyushin Liger.
Do you think somebody tries to get heat on him? And we're going to talk about him in a second, but like, do you think they're going to do that or no? Do you think we can respect the legend and the greatest of all time?
I think if it was somebody who have made less of an impact than Liger, then I'd say there's a potential. I don't think they'd do it to Liger. The only person, well, obviously the only person they do is the person that they decided to use at the end of this show. But I think he'd be the only person they could potentially do it with. But I think they'll.
I would be genuinely furious. Like,
yeah.
not like oh, you got me, that's good heat. I'd just be like, fuck this.
Yeah, that might be going a little too far. I think they'll hopefully give Liger just a big ceremony and see him off the way that he deserves to.
Speaking of which, that was the opening match of Wrestle Kingdom Night 2, and the music hit, and I just immediately got a lump in my throat.
Yeah, it was. So the match is Jyushin Liger, his final ever match, teaming with Naoki Sano against Ryu Lee and Hiromu Takahashi. Yeah, it was. As soon as that music hits, you just feel some sort of whatever. I'm not saying that I can't say that I'm the most storied like historian in terms of Jyushin Liger's entire history of his career, but I understand the massive impact that he's had across his entire career. And seeing him come out for the last time with that music is so iconic.
Good.
Yeah, so iconic. See him do the poses, see the entrance video behind it. It's just, yeah, this guy is a legend among legends. And it was hard to see him just go through this for the last time. And they tried to have as good a match as they possibly could have. I kind of feel
he was so goddamn intent.
Yeah.
On going out on his back. Like,
yeah, he's a traditionalist, you can tell.
Yeah.
And I think he tried to put on as good a show as he possibly could with Hiromu and Lee as he could. I think Sano tried his best, just isn't really up to the sort of speed that was necessary, and it almost felt like a little bit that because of the fact that the other two people weren't as quick, it meant that Hiromu and Lee had to tone down their style of wrestling in order to try and accommodate that.
I would have at least liked to have seen Lee get the pin and build some heat for himself going towards what I think is an inevitable championship match with Hiromu. And I don't know. I wanted
I guess they were.
more.
I was hoping for. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I was hoping for. I almost feel like the match that took place yesterday would have been better for the second night as opposed to
Yeah.
this one. I also feel like maybe they didn't go with the Lee pinning him in order to first of all double establish Hiromu after winning the title last time, and secondly to not take any of the attention away from this being Liger's final match. But
Was it 3,531?
yeah, some incredibly high number like that.
Let me just say right there,
mm,
I think that Chris Charlton is the secret ingredient to the commentary team. I think he is an invaluable resource, and I really enjoyed his work the last two nights.
yeah, he was excellent. I thought the thing about Gambino is he's a little bit overbearing in his role. Rocky Mera's great when he's on there because he wasn't on there for the start of it because obviously he was managing Roppongi 3K in the next match. And Kevin Kelly's the best play-by-play guy. Like it's basically him and Ronaldo, and that's kind of like they're on the top tier at the moment.
Yeah, Kevin Kelly, much like he didn't stay away for as long as Shivani did, but much like Shivani, he's a voice from my childhood that hearing them now, I really greatly appreciate. Kelly is maybe the top play-by-play guy. I might even put him over Ronaldo.
Yeah, I probably would as well. But this is so they walk away like with Sano and their trainer who was their original trainer who was their manager as well for this, and it's quite interesting because it was Fujiwara who's the innovator of the Fujiwara armbar, and he
That's right.
came out to the tune of Flight of the Valkyries.
Yes, he did. And I laugh because even though it's one of the most classical pieces of music ever, I hear it now and I just think, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. But then there's a bizarre moment, pretty much in the history of New Japan World, should I say, in that it just completely crashes.
So, like, Liger's retirement hit so hard that the entire service crashed. For some, it crashed for 5 minutes. For me, it crashed for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I was fortunate in the fact that I refreshed it a couple of times, then eventually it came back just before the start of the junior heavyweight tag team match. For other people, it was significantly longer. Other people had to switch over to something like Fight TV or another platform where it was being streamed in order to keep up with what was going on. So it was just, I guess it's partly a good sign because it shows how many people were trying to access the English version of the commentary, which is a good
Right.
signal that a lot of people outside of Japan are watching this product. It isn't good because it shows that there are fallibilities in the New Japan World system that need to be addressed in order to accommodate this higher volume of traffic.
I agree.
But I guess it's a better problem to have than nobody turning up. But we'll move on now to the actual junior heavyweight tag team championship match, which was El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori defending against Roppongi 3K. So you didn't
partially
get to see much
because
of
I
that.
didn't see much of this, and also partially because I just knew what the end result was gonna be. I know it sounds snobbish, but like I even told you, so yeah, Show and Yo are gonna win for the like 20th time, and that is what it is.
Yeah, for what it's worth, like the result was pretty self-explanatory, but for what it's worth, I really enjoyed this match. I think the Phantasmo and Ishimori are great as these heels that can do so much in the ring, but then only do it to be flashy rather than to just like. There are certain people that do these moves to be devastating. They do it just because they're assholes that can do it and want to be dicks about it. So there was spots where Phantasmo did a tightrope walk and then a moonsault off the tightrope walk off the top rope and then back raked show. That was
That's
the only thing
awesome.
he did. It's just like he's so good. Then there's like some really good action between all four of them towards the end of it. At one point, Phantasmo uses a Styles Clash, which gets a big reaction because so it shows how over that move is, how over AJ Styles was for his time in New Japan.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he'll ever go back, but I'd like to see AJ return one day. And he is one of the most over foreigners I think there's ever been.
So the final segment is that ELP tries a punch to the dick of Show, but Show's wearing a cup, so basically just hurts town. And then Roppongi 3K dominate pretty much all the closing stages, finishing with a assisted shock arrow pile driver to win the titles for I think it was the fourth or fifth time.
They need to merge the divisions because as soon as you merge the divisions, you're talking about Roppongi 3K versus Finjuice, Roppongi 3K versus Evil and Sonata, Roppongi 3K versus the Girls of Destiny, which I think they've done before, but this would be for the championships. It'd be a great move. Eagles, not Eagles, but ELP and Ishimori. I think they're a great tag team. I'd like to see them go up against some of the heavyweight teams. You know, I think there's so much potential in the merging of the divisions.
Yeah, I would agree, especially for the tag team thing, just to expand it out a little bit and give more freedom to explore some other feuds that people haven't seen just yet without having to bring new people on board. We move on from that to the British Heavyweight Championship match: Zack Sabre Jr. versus Sonata.
Zack Sabre Jr. is hold for hold best wrestler in the world.
I think
I feel confident in saying that.
I think when you put the phrase technical wrestler in front of it, then yes, Zack Sabre Jr. is the best in the world. And Sonata, when he's wrestling Zack Sabre Jr. in particular, is pretty good at keeping up with him. This match was, I think, as technically perfect a match can possibly go without it being, but it didn't carry the emotion or the investment that certain other matches need to push it over the edge. But in terms of just like technically stringing moves together, stringing submissions and reversals and counters, this is like top tier.
This was fantastic, and I was only shocked in the result in that I just thought they were going to give LIJ a clean sweep, but obviously when you're talking about the British heavyweight champion, I think there's nobody better to hold that belt for the end of time other than Zack Sabre Jr.
So the finish was probably one of the best parts of it, which was a pinning sequence where they were basically just doing like tons of different roll ups and cradles in order to try and get the final pin. Zack Sabre Jr. does his one where he leans back to stand on his head, manages to stay on top just enough for the 3 seconds to win the match. So, as like you say, I expected Lij to do a clean sweep, but I think it's probably quite telling that Sonata is the only one who doesn't hold a belt right now.
Do you think they're going to eventually build towards Sonata versus Naito and Sonata breaks away?
I think Sonata is probably the most likely one to. He's pretty established now on his own as a guy who could potentially lead a faction of his own. And whether he tries to stage a coup on the Lij and try and take that for himself, and Naito is forced to find another path, or he just decides to join up with some other people that maybe separating from their groups at this point in time, and uses that to go after Naito and the rest of Lij. We'll wait to be seen, but I think this
What was
is
the last new faction, addition?
I
Bullet
think
Club?
I think it was when Suzuki-gun joined
Oh, when they
or
came back
rejoined.
from
Yeah,
Noah?
yeah. When they came back, when Suzuki came back from his time away, I think that's probably the most recently put together one. But
Huh.
yeah, so it would be good to see some freshening up of the factions around there because they've been around for a good 4 to 5 years at this point. It might be good to make a bit of a change. And Sonata could definitely hold his own in that fight. It'd be the thing that helps him get from the level he is right now, which is an almost guy, to being a potential like top guy for New Japan going forward.
I think he's got it in him to do that. Last year was a great showcase of that with his matches against Okada and his work in the G1. I definitely see Sonata being a champion by 2022. Hopefully sooner because he is that good, but we'll see what happens.
So we follow that up with the United States Championship match, which Moxley, John Moxley, the new champion, defending against Juice Robinson. I don't have much to say about this match, if I'm honest.
I don't have much to say about bell to bell other than Juice Robinson doesn't care about the way he looks. He's a very free spirit, and you know what? God bless him. And John Moxley isn't pretty in the ring, but I really think that for a consistent player that's relatively young, he's becoming my favorite all around, all across the board competitor because those promos, his fighting style really syncs well. There's something about Moxley that's just clicking right now.
So this match there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's very well wrestled. There's some good callbacks to their previous stuff with Moxley biting above the eye of Juice Robinson, which he attacked in their previous matches. There's a lot of there's a left hand of God punch through the steel chair to the face of Mox after Mox had already hit Juice with a steel chair earlier. A lot of stiff shots towards the end of it, some finisher teases. Then there's a good finishing sequence where he hits Juice hits quite a few like hands of gods, like a left and then a right and then another left. Then he goes for pulp friction, but Moxley reverses it into first and like a standard impact DDT or Dirty Deeds, as probably people more familiar with it. Rolls through that, hits the Death Rider, and retains the title.
That's so fucking rad. The the DDT roll through high angle DDT, one of my favorite sequences. But let's skip right through that and let's get on to the coolest moment of Wrestle Kingdom 14.
Okay, so this match was good, but what happened after the match was just infinitely better. So Moxley is standing around celebrating, and then his music ends, and Kaze ni Nare blares through the entire stadium. The crowd is as loud. They hadn't been this loud since the Liger retirement stuff. And Suzuki marches his way down to the ring. I assume originally that he's just there to cut a promo, challenge Moxley. They might do a bit of a stare down or a bust up a little bit, but he strips down to the fact that he's just in his trunks, and he's there to absolutely just pick a fight immediately with Moxley.
This was my favorite moment of the night. I popped so big. I enjoyed him just kicking off his track pants while on the ramp, like, no, we're just gonna fight. And then he respectfully allowed the crowd to yell Kaze ni Nare at the top of their lungs and got in the ring and just started striking.
So I think what happens essentially is that they brawl beat each other up a little bit. Suzuki gets the advantage, locks him in the choke, and then hits the Gotch style pile driver and leaves Moxley laying. Cuts a promo saying that he's picking a fight with Moxley if Moxley's like looking for any fights available. This is one of those take my money moments in pro wrestling.
I'm the king, according to Chris Charlton at least. He said, I'm the king of pro wrestling, and maybe I'm going to be the king of the United States. Which, judging by the current state of the United States, I would take a monarchy in which Minoru Suzuki was our king.
Yeah, I think most people I'd probably take that as well for my own country. But I feel like this is going to be a match it's going to be a match that everyone will look forward to. This is a match that everyone has wanted to see Moxley have since he came into New Japan. So
if they don't put it on tonight, or
it won't be on New Year's Dash. It won't be on New Year's Dash. They need to build
we
this.
we don't
They
know
need.
anything
Well,
about New Year's match.
I know. We don't know anything. I assume he'll be in a tag team match. First of all, we don't know if Moxley will even be there because he's going to be at the AEW show on Wednesday. So whether they need him to get back there in time for that, like to get prepared and everything like that, then we don't even know whether he'll be on this show. But secondly, like there's so many other huge. New Year's Dash is probably already sold out. Why would you bother putting that match on a show which is already sold out? You need to use it to build up one of your big shows coming down. I imagine it'll be the main event of a show in February.
If I had to guess and say like, okay, don't hold it off until like freaking Dominion,
It won't. It
but
won't.
I would say anniversary show in Tokyo, March
Uh,
3rd.
I think this match is good enough to main event a show. Because they
So you
always
think they give him Osaka?
potentially. I feel like one of the kind of lesser tour pay-per-views. This would be they put a United States title match in the main event of one of them, and then the IWGP Championship as the main event of another one, just to try and spread the load a little bit. I feel like this match is money on its own, so they should use that as the big selling point for one show at least.
I think this is the one John Moxley match that I know I want from New Japan, and I cannot wait.
So we move on from that to the Never Openweight Championship match, which is Kenta defending against Hiroki Goto.
It was fine. There's something not clicking with Kenta for me.
This match, it takes a while to get warmed up, but in the final 5 minutes, I don't think I quite have seen two guys beat the shit out of each other as these guys beat the shit out of each other. I mean, I've seen some matches between Minoru Suzuki and Tomohiro Ishii where it looks like that, but some of the shots that Goto was hitting Kenta with towards the end of it were just unbelievably insane. Like the slaps to the face that the two were doing, like how they're both walking out of this without any sort of concussions or head injuries or anything like that is beyond me, really. Like there's it's the only time that in this match, because early on Kenta's doing a lot of the heel shtick and the crowd's pretty dead, but towards that point it really picks up towards the end, and I saw a lot of reactions for it online. It's one of those matches which is really really polarizing. There's a lot of people that just hated Kenta stalling and don't really see a lot in have a lot of investment in either of him or Goto. And others saying this match totally ruled because it was the epitome of a strong style New Japan match.
I think it's the epitome of what I've come to expect from the Never Openweight Championship.
Mm.
And this is a great title, but I don't think it's that his work isn't connecting. There's just I can't put my finger on it. There is something off about when I see Kenta in the ring.
I think the thing with me is that Kenta, from what I've gathered from, I don't know, YouTube comments and Twitter things and stuff like that aren't the be all end all, and you shouldn't read into all that stuff too much. But I get a sense that unlike Jay White, who's the big heel and the crowd is willing to go along with the ride, I feel like the crowd just genuinely don't like Kenta. Like, and not in the sense like, oh, he's a heel, so we don't like him. They just don't like him as a person.
Like in an X-Pac kind of way?
Yeah,
Like a
it's
go
like,
away?
well, yeah, I think it's the idea of like White is a heel that people know that that's part of the story and they like his character work. Well, not like his character work, but they know they're booing him because that's what the character's doing. I think that there's a severe lack of respect towards Kenta from the crowd in terms of they see him as a Noah guy and no better than that. He doesn't deserve an NXT guy, and he doesn't deserve to be in a New Japan ring. That's just maybe I'm reading too much into that based on some of the stuff that was said about him during the G1, but it does seem like there's a lot of people that seem to have this sort of opinion that Kenta doesn't belong in New Japan.
My argument to that would be, well then, who does? Because he's certainly a proven name in Japan, just not New Japan.
No, he'd be a god in Noah if he went back there.
Yeah.
But it's just a case of I feel like I don't think he's a lost cause. Yeah, he hasn't been back a year yet, so I don't say definitely don't give up on him, and they clearly haven't been giving up on him just yet. But it will be interesting to see how much the crowd start to, if they do get behind him. Well, not so much get behind him as because he's going to be presented as a heel going forward anyway, but just show a bit more appreciation of him, I guess.
But I will say this: losing 2 nights in a row made this is not the last we see of Kenta, and losing 2 nights in a row made what happens later all the more perplexing to me.
Well, the thing that also the signals for this is that now Bullet Club don't have any title belts. They walked into these shows with a few title belts. They had the Intercontinental title, they had the Never Openweight Championship, and they had the Junior Tag Team titles. Now they have nothing, and so there might be
time. I really would like to see this faction come to an end because it's so like rooted in guys that are just no longer there. It'd be like trying to do LIJ without Naito, or like trying to do, Chaos. While I know they're still a thing, they're not as prominent as they were when it was like Okada and Nakamura. Like it's time for Bullet Club to morph into something new, I think.
So we move on from that to the New Japan 2020 schedule announcement. There's nothing. It's not the most in-depth thing. I'm sure there's going to be more things revealed as time goes on because they didn't mention anything in terms of international dates beyond a few things in the USA early on in the year. So currently there's nothing planned for Australia, or at least there's nothing lined up that they've revealed yet for Australia or the United Kingdom or for the USA towards the back end of the year. And probably
the big news here was that the G1 Climax, due to the Olympics, is officially moving to the autumn season and will be finishing up on October 18th, I think, with 16th and 17th being the block finals and the 18th being the finals.
Yeah, I saw a few people on Twitter that know a lot more learned on New Japan than I am, saying they were kind of disappointed with some of the venues selected for the cards because they indicate that they've gone to buildings which are smaller than they were in 2019, which they think is like a sign of not so much weakness but a bit of a come down, really.
Okay, so they're not as confident, let's say.
Maybe they feel like the Olympics is going to affect a lot of things this year, and maybe that's the reason why they've decided to be a bit more conservative. But either way, like it's rubbed a few people the wrong way. But we'll have to wait and see how it turns up. But we move on to the Battle of the Losers. Jay White, the former Intercontinental Champion, facing Ibushi, the man that couldn't quite get the job done against Okada on night one.
In the match of the year, which is going to be very hard to touch.
Yeah, well, definitely. If you want to hear us gush about how great that match is, you can go back to the night one review.
And I'm solidifying that it has had time to sink in. It was phenomenal, and I think Ibushi, it's going to be his time soon.
Well, this match was very well wrestled for the most part. Again, these guys know what they're doing really well. White is the great, cocky, like shit heel where he's just ducking away from every single opportunity from Ibushi, like falling out of his finisher attempts and just laying on the ground so he can't do them, that sort of thing. But for the second match in a row, we see Ibushi go into that dark place where he loses all emotion and he just starts killing people. And he was killing quite a few things with quite a few strikes and forearms, and he doesn't go to the same sort of level, so we don't see the deadlift German over the top rope, that sort of thing. We don't see some of his bigger moves, some of his more like expressive offense. But one thing we do see a lot of in this match is Gedo.
Yeah.
We see a lot of Gedo distracting the referee, attacking Ibushi when the referee's back's turned. When there's a big ref bump, he gets in the ring, he attacks Ibushi with a chair, but Ibushi no-sells it and goes after him. Then later on, we see, really towards the end of the match, Ibushi has White beat after a Kamagoe, but Gedo pulls the referee out at 2, and then he gets in the ring. White hits
White
Ibushi.
fucking launches.
Yeah, a steel chair right in the head of Ibushi's head, and then Gedo hits him with brass knucks. White then hits a straight jacket, Bloody Sunday, followed by the Blade Runner, and gets the pin. So White is the only Bullet Club person to win a match across the entirety of Wrestle Kingdom.
And Kota Ibushi is a loser.
Yeah, he's a two-time loser. A lot of people were angry about the finish of this match because this is so not New Japan, or this is not what people want to see out of New Japan, which is the big fuck finish. This is so straight out of like an episode of Monday Night Raw.
But also this, I feel like this is straight out of an episode of Monday Night Raw when it was good, like in the late '90s, early 2000s, where
It's overbooked to shit.
It's overbooked to shit, but I feel like, you know how the Mr. McMahon character like could do no wrong, even though yes, a lot of his shit was overbooked, it just always clicked. I think people have that vibe with Gato, where this might not be what you want from New Japan, but I didn't feel overly offended. It wasn't like they presented me with The Fiend versus Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell.
No, and everyone has enough faith in Gato that they probably believe that this will lead to something better down the road. I just feel like a lot of people, especially because there's a huge collection of people in the same way, similar to people not liking Kenta, there's a huge body of New Japan fans that's really anti Jay White and anti this him and his relationship with Gedo and the way that his matches are booked to him like constantly cheating to win, the numerous number of breath bumps that take place in his matches, the interference, all of that stuff.
I feel like it's important to note Gato is a fan of American pro wrestling first. Like, in his mind, that stuff is better than the hard hitting, almost cross branded style where it's like MMA and pro wrestling. He likes the theatrics. Maybe this is just something he wanted to do,
Yeah, all I'll say is the people that think that the white stuff is like ruining New Japan and stuff like that, and it's killing the product or killing their enjoyment of it. Like, find the other guy on the roster that gets as much heat and as much like actual negative reactions from the crowd as Jay White does, and then come talk to me about it, because I feel like if the fact that he's not the only person that does it, but he's the main guy to do it, this sort of style of like wrestling and heel work. So I feel like as long as it's limited to him, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and he does it very well. And like I said,
And he's a great wrestler. So
he's completely moved up in my mind.
Yeah, if he was a crappy wrestler, I'd have a bit more sympathy for that. I feel like this is the start of something different for Ibushi, because I feel like how I would do it, and Gedo probably has a million ideas that are better than anything that I'm going to put forward, but I feel like Ibushi needs to start going into this emotionless, remorseless character more. That should become pretty much his entire persona coming to the ring.
I know I keep, every time I see Coda, I want to go back to Kenny, but like, there's a story there of, just losing all emotion and just losing your focus. There's that story.
Well, I think that the real story could be that what's been happening with Bushi recently is that at one point in a match or whatever, he gets a strike hit on him, or the opponent does something to him, which makes him just go into this warped state of mind. I would go forward with the idea of he just comes to the ring in that warped state of mind and he just kills people. And I know the typical New Japan way is not to have short matches, but I would have him beat people like, not even like him part as any sort of faction, but he beats people like Yoshi-Hashi or Chase Owens or people of that level in like a matter of 2-3 minutes, like for a good solid portion of time, where he is just going in, and he's going in to win matches, but he's going in with the express intent of hurting people or not caring if he does hurt people. Like, if you do want to have longer matches, I would suggest that you do something like he beats someone and then that guy's out of action for a couple of months, even though he's not technically out of action. Like, he's not really injured, but they sell that he's injured for like a month or two.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, and then you build up to the idea that Ibushi's completely lost his way. He's become like a laser pointed killer, but he's lost what made him so beloved to the audience, so he becomes more of a tweener, and that's where you could potentially bring Kenny Omega in down the line as a guy to try and bring him back from the edge, what he is right now. So that would be my long-term thing for it. I don't know whether that's what's had in mind for it, but I feel like that would be a good course to go down.
I feel like it's almost, and it's amazing with the beautiful story arc that they have, but it's almost the exact reverse of where Omega found himself when Omega re-christened himself and joined the Bullet Club, where for a long time he was in Koda's shadow, and he just wanted to get out of that. And I think Koda maybe feels like last year he was in Kenny's shadow. This year he thinks it's his year and he just loses everything. There's a lot you can tell.
So we move on from that to the semi-main event, which is Hiroshi Tanahashi against Chris Jericho. So I guess the big thing right off the bat is we got to see the AEW World Championship on New Japan show.
Yes.
And
he was announced as the champion of AEW.
Yes. So that's intriguing to start with. I saw Ross Berman over at WrestleZone saying on Twitter that the AEW title was referred to here and not even Ryu Lee's Ring of Honor Championship was mentioned during his match.
That's not altogether true. It wasn't mentioned, like he wasn't announced as Ring of Honor World Champion, but I believe it was Chris Charlton who did give a nod to the fact that Ryu Lee is the Ring of Honor Television Champion.
But clearly there wasn't much tension.
It wasn't as like...
which isn't like... It's not the same as the camera just panning over to the AEW World Championship and staring at it.
Of the AEW title. So, before we get into the intricacies of this match, what did you think about this match in like a bullet points as far as the quality of the match?
These two are two of the best wrestlers of all time. I'd probably put that down as they're just two people that know what they're doing. They know what their limitations are now at this point in their careers, and they go out and still put on a match which is better than 90% of the things you'll see on any show anywhere.
I thought this was Chris Jericho's best match since Kenny Omega. And I think that when it's all said and done, this might be one of Chris Jericho's best singles matches, period.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. It's... Yeah,
by the way, when I said Kenny Omega, I mean
the match with Kenny Omega. The no DQ match, and this one didn't even have the... I mean, obviously it had the shtick surrounding like battling at ringside and that gnarly DDT onto the table, which helped get Jericho the heat for a while. But it wasn't a no DQ match. It didn't have that going for it. Not that there really is any sort of thing as a DQ in New Japan. If anything, we saw Wrestle Kingdom is anything to go by. But they were going a bit heavy. There was some sort of... I think Red Shoes got bumped at one point, and there was a pair of low blows between first Jericho and Tanahashi, and then Tanahashi on Jericho. But maybe they were going a little heavy-handed with the ref bump stuff, especially because that had happened in the previous match.
Tana came to play, and for the first time I was like, you know what? This guy would probably translate well into the American style, because he was having fun. Dude, he was doing the cocky, come on, baby, to Jericho. He was, like, doing the air guitar shtick. Tana had fun on this one.
Oh, yeah. I think they did a lot of like old school, just playing to the crowd and using the fact that how big their reputations are to make sure they didn't have to go super... I mean, they still worked really hard, but they didn't have to go to like killing themselves levels. But when after Jericho does that DDT on the announce table, we actually don't have a lot of comment on the English side of things. At least when I was watching, we don't have commentary for a while,
which I liked.
Yeah, it was a nice touch to it because you were just listening to what was going on in the ring, and that was a nice change of pace. Jericho at one point tries the high fly flow, but like he's basically standing on the top rope doing air guitar, and I think, dude, you're 50 years old, and you're just like, he is awesome, and he completely misses the frog splash. I saw on Twitter afterwards he gave a shout out to Eddie Guerrero afterwards, saying that was like the first frog splash he's ever attempted.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen him hit a frog splash.
yeah.
Uh,
Obviously, big Wrestle Kingdom shows that Tanahashi can't help himself, and he does a high fly flow from the top rope to the floor onto Jericho.
Tanahashi also hit the Codebreaker on
Yeah,
Jericho. I thought that was awesome.
yeah, they did some great stuff here. There's an awesome spot where uh, Tanahashi goes for a standing high fly flow, and Jericho catches him with the Codebreaker, which is like the perfect reversal for that.
Jericho goes for the Judas effect. First time, I believe, that he's attempted to use that move outside of All Elite.
I believe he beat Naito with it for the Intercontinental title.
Did.
Yeah, I think he used the Judas effect to win that.
Huh. So never mind what I said there.
So yeah, he obviously that's still a move that he's still in the process of getting over, but he didn't connect with it on this one.
No, Tana grabbed him, got him in the was it the straight jacket German or
Yeah,
yeah, got
yes.
him in the straight jacket German. Great sequence. They really played to the hill this opening the forbidden door. Chris Charlton again, major shout out to him, saying, "Yeah, Tanahashi's a political master. He understood that if he said something loosely, it was going to get really poorly, roughly translated, and then that would get in everybody's head. Like, genius stuff that I'm sure wasn't there to begin with is now there, and it just. I loved everything about this match.
So
Except for the fact that, for the second time, for whatever reason, we don't have Judas on New Japan World
oh yeah,
anymore.
that was a big thing. Like they need to buy the rights to that music. I don't know whether for some reason Jericho gave exclusivity to AEW for use that
Jericho
music.
claims that New Japan has the rights. It's
Yeah,
like Elevated, where they're just for whatever reason right now choosing not to use it.
so finish of this match is that Tanahashi again goes for high fly flow. He never actually hits the proper one during this match, but Jericho rolls through the attempt into the walls of Jericho. It's just so perfect that Jericho's finish, like big finisher submission, is the Boston Crab in New Japan.
Yes.
And he Tanahashi fights and he claws, he tries to get to the ropes, but Jericho pulls him away, sits back into the lion tamer, knee right into the spine, and Tanahashi taps out. Crowd actually like that you feel like all the air coming out of the room when he tapped out to that.
Yeah.
Because like Wrestle Kingdom is Tanahashi's show. And
For
the fact
context, I mean, yes, Tana's a little on the older side, but if John Cena wrestled at Mania this year, I wouldn't expect him to tap out to whomever he faces. You
no,
know?
this was like I got the similar sort of impression of like when Shawn Michaels tapped out to Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. It's like
Yeah.
this is the guy that this is his show, and he would never give up on it. But Tanahashi's forced to give up. Jericho makes him tap out, and that means that we're not going to see that AEW World Championship match between at least not yet between him and Tanahashi.
But
But
I do
Jericho
think that this means we're definitely getting more of Jericho.
Jericho will definitely be back in New Japan a lot more going forward. I think he's given no indication that he wants to get out of New Japan at any point. He had some interesting comments in the post-match press
Yeah.
conference where he talked about the fact that he is desperate for people to like set aside their egos and set aside their issues and realize how much business can be made and how much both companies in AEW and New Japan can support each other. He says he really wants to defend the championship and fight Tanahashi again in AEW, and he wants to defend it against Okada and Naito and Ospreay and all these other names that he brought up.
Yeah, it turned into like this weird diplomatic moment where Jericho's just like, there's so much money to be made here across the globe. We need to put aside our differences. I think it's gonna happen. I don't know when, but I think it's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah, so obviously when I first saw the title, I thought maybe there is some, no, not so maybe there's a working relationship, maybe there is some gap there. And I was listening to Brian Alvarez do a post show on the Wrestle Kingdom stuff, and he talks about the fact that the door has been cracked open. Like you say, this forbidden door has been cracked open, but they're still really nowhere close to getting a final deal. The only thing that seemingly was conceded was that Tony Khan agreed that Jericho could make this challenge, could allow to agree to defend the championship, or agree to say that he will get a title shot afterwards if Tanahashi won, and the belt could be shown on Wrestle Kingdom. But that's kind of where the line ends, at least for the time being.
For now, yeah.
Yeah, but Jericho will be back. I'm sure. Like, Jericho is smart enough to know, and I feel like he will be pretty vociferous going forward. In the same way, I'm pretty sure Moxley will be going forward. That they need to work with New Japan on a closer basis. I think it's quite clear that the relationship between New Japan and Ring of Honor is kind of just there for the sake of being there right now. And there's really no kind of real affection between, especially on the New Japan side at the moment.
I think that's completely fair given the state of Ring of Honor at the moment.
Yeah, so I feel like we'll see it happen eventually. I don't even know if we'll see it happen by next year's Wrestle Kingdom, and also we kind of have to just hope that AEW, I don't want to say like survives, because I don't want to like be
continues to thrive.
Yeah.
And grows to a level where you can say, all right, we want to work with you, not like, oh, well, you're some of our old guys, so we should work with you.
And this would give them a bigger presence in Japan, because obviously WWE is probably the big foreign promotion in Japan. So this could help AEW steal a march on it by having AEW feature some of the top stars of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it would help New Japan with their attempts to create a more of a foothold in the United States audience. So it really is something that needs to happen for both sides. I don't see any downside. The only thing would just be both sides would just need to, like I say, just let their egos rest and allow the bitterness that may be seen towards people like Kenny and the Young Bucks for just jumping ship to start their own promotion. Just let that bitterness just subside. Realize what opportunity you have right now.
I agree. And to wrap this up, shout out to Jericho. Great match. Great piece of business.
Yeah, I think this was up there with the best matches on the entire weekend. It's not at the level of Ospreay and Hiromu or Okada and Ibushi, but it's really close up there. I'd say top 5 matches of the weekend, which is something to be said because this match fucking ruled, and we're still saying it's just it's probably in the top 5 maybe. Like, that's how good this entire weekend has been. But then we get to the main event and the closer really of this entire thing, and basically what everyone was there to see, which was IWGP Heavyweight Champion Okada facing Intercontinental Champion Naito in the double gold dash. So the crowd was living and dying by this match. It wasn't as good in terms of wrestling match, in terms of like just
move for
the
move.
nuts and bolts of it. Yeah, move for move. It wasn't as good as Okada versus Ibushi.
I agree.
But the reaction of the crowd and how important this match was, and the stakes attached to it, and the emotion that was going on in the entire thing, and the story that was being told about Naito having to come from behind to try and take out Okada, this might supplant it as my favourite match of the weekend.
Yeah.
It's close. It's close. It's really close.
For me, nothing is beating
and that's
Bushi.
fair. There's totally nothing wrong with that opinion, but this is so good though.
This was about as close to a foregone conclusion style road to WrestleMania that you can get. Naito walks down the ramp and Chris Charlton runs down his life story, basically. It's been 25 years since he decided to start training. It's been, 33 years since he was in kindergarten and went on a bus with his dad to see the matches. Like, you kind of... I lambast WWE's commentary for stuff like this, so I'll do it here too. It was such a dead giveaway to the point where it was like, if Okada wins this fucking match, then it will just never be Naito.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that to an extent, but I still feel like when you're trying to make this, there's a lot of people that may not be as super familiar with Naito watching this, and you're trying to sell the gravitas of what this means to him. I feel like that was worthwhile saying.
Does that mean Naito's pushing 40?
Yeah, he is. He is pretty damn old. I would say like super old. I think he's about 38, 39. He's been wrestling for a while.
We're gonna remember this generation for being almost like the new Ric Flairs, in that they're in their prime, but they're also pushing 40, or in some cases like an AJ Styles, well beyond 40.
Because I feel like the most interesting thing about it is the fact that Okada's the most established heavyweight in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's also the youngest of the established heavyweights in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
At 30-something.
Yeah, he's 32. Naito's like 39, like pushing 40. Tanahashi's well past 40. Bushi's 37. So
that's amazing, because he looks like he's 20.
I think Omega's in his mid-30s as well, if he was to ever come back. Jericho's obviously 50. You have people like Ishii's in his 40s, Goto's towards his 40s. So Jay White is the other like young guy in terms of like the like
yeah, because he's like our age, right? I think he's like
yeah, mid to late 20s, yeah. And Ospreay's in his like mid to late 20s as well. So he'll be in and around there, but the fact that Okada is going to be like he's going to be there to see these legends like depart, and also to bring in the next wave of new top stars that New Japan decide to push. But we'll move on to the actual match itself. So, not Okada was in control for I think the majority of the match, and he did a very un-Okada thing towards like the middle part where he takes Naito on the outside of the ring and he does a giant knee drop. Well, he lifts lifts Naito up and drops his knee over the announce table.
So he did like a shin breaker to
the
announce table.
Yeah, and that's very obviously Okada's like this beacon of honor and all that stuff. He kind of went back to that old like win at all costs Okada that we've seen in the past, and that turned the crowd. Obviously, the crowd was mostly behind Naito from the start anyway, but this completely turned the crowd into Naito's favor. Okada kept attacking the leg at opportunities that he got, but it started getting a lot more back and forth towards the end of it. We saw this incredible top rope poison rana with Okada landing pretty much dead on his head. Like, I don't know how you can do that sort of move, survive it. There's an incredible sequence where Okada catches Naito with a drop kick when he's trying to do the flying forearm, like just right in the face. But Naito immediately like no sells it, gets up, hits the running Destino, but it's only a 2 count. And the crowd was like, even though it was the running Destino and he never wins from the running Destino, the crowd just was willing it to happen.
They kicked out of a lot, and I know that's the New Japan trademark, but they, towards the end of it, especially because of how he beat Ibushi with like hitting the multiple rainmakers, and there was a moment where he caught him going for the Destino into the spinning tombstone, and I'm looking at the clock because it's something I do when I'm watching a match that I think the conclusion is a foregone one, and I'm just like, oh, but really, if Okada wins this, then there's just no hope for Naito ever, and really good job keeping me at the edge of my seat, and also the Tokyo Dome exploded when he hit the final Destino.
So towards the end of it, we have Naito kicks out of a Rainmaker. He spits in Okada's face at one point, so Okada just like keeps dropping him on his knee repeatedly, and the crowd just getting angrier and angrier. But then Naito ducks the Rainmaker, hits the the main Destino, but Okada kicks out again. Then he does the Stardust Press, which is an awesome callback to their match from 2 years ago, which is like one of the things that cost Naito because he felt he had to go for the Stardust Press because that was his old finisher. But this time he connected with it, but Okada still kicked out. But they go towards the end of it. Naito puts a seal on it by hitting the Gloria and then hitting the one more Destino. And yep, the crowd just absolutely explodes when the 3 count goes in. Naito is top of the mountain.
Top of the mountain. Okada rolls out, kind of just really hurt, really selling the neck. Naito grabs the microphone and he just yells Okada, and I think Charlton said he said something to the effect of, main eventing in the Tokyo Dome feels pretty good. let's do it again sometime. And they get this perfect shot of Okada just like raising his fist in power and a show of respect to Naito. And I
Yeah, that
just
was
thought,
great.
like, he must be so happy for his friend. You
Yeah.
know, like, what a cool moment.
Yeah, that was just a nice, great show of respect between the two people behind the professionals. Just a good signal of that. And then I assume we will see this match again down the road. I don't know in what capacity. Maybe they'll be in the G1 together. Who knows?
Dominion.
No, I don't think. I think they won't jump the gun with that just yet. I mean, there's a potential, but I feel like if they do have a match for the title, it will be off the back of Okada beating Naito or drawing with Naito in a G1 match.
Does Okada dye his hair blue now? Like, do we get balloons again?
Uh,
That's what I want to know.
I think we go. I think he's got to keep the glow in the dark road.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah, I think you can't just have that and just only use it for 2 nights. You need to keep it up for a little while. Naito cut his promo at the end. He talks about how he's finally flipped the script and he's now the guy in charge. So they go into the big thing where he just like whips the crowd up into a frenzy and he starts like saying just follow along with the catchphrase, which he's calling out every single people in LIJs, which says like Evil, Sanada, Shingo, Hiromu, Bushi, and then says Naito is about to go like the big Los Ingobernables de Japon, but Kenta charges the ring, takes out the crowd just like booing so vociferously because Kenta just beating the crap out of Naito in the ring, hits the GTS, poses over him, like sits on his chest while he's holding both title belts. Like, yeah, so
There's a lot I didn't like here.
mm,
First of all, the fact that they did this immediately. Like, I would have let Naito have his night.
they should have done it tomorrow,
They
realistically.
should, yeah, like, and then you just get into the really you're gonna go with Kenta? I thought maybe okay. I thought maybe he grabs one belt, maybe Jay White shows up, and he grabs the world belt. No, they're gonna do this thing where Kenta just grabs both belts. Is going to be a thing now where like Naito's first defense is just a double belt defense? I don't know. I don't like that they're doing this with Kenta.
I think I think Kenta is a good choice for the first one because let's face it, you're not going to have Naito drop the belt straight away.
That's what we thought about Tanahashi last year.
True, but I feel like with Tanahashi, it's slightly different. The fact that his title win was it was almost like that's getting
To,
the belt off Kenny
to get
Omega,
it
first of
away
all.
from
Yeah.
Kenny.
And it's also like, it's just the moment itself is him just winning it. He doesn't need to carry it for a while, whereas this time Naito needs to hold it for a bit to just establish himself again and be the top guy for a little while and see what they can do with him as the top guy. Because I think they'll take a little bit of a break from Okada holding it, so he probably won't hold it for another year and a half, maybe something like that. And they probably will end up building towards the idea of maybe Naito dropping it to someone like either White or Bushi down the road.
I think
But
you've got major opponents in Ibushi. You've got major opponents in White, Sonata. I think you can never say no to Suzuki.
no, yeah. So there's definitely a lot of options, but Kenta should be high up there. I feel like if Kenta had come down and challenged Naito, that would have been bad because he had just lost 2 nights in a row, and he'd lost the title to Goto. So him coming out and challenging Naito would have just been like a little bit desperate. But the fact that he attacked him instead, just like trying to jump the queue for himself, means that I'm okay with it being Kenta being the first person to challenge him.
I guess I'm not looking forward to the fact that that means tonight we're gonna get like a 10-man or something, and Kenta will probably get a victory over Naito, and then just to set up the match officially. And I'm kind of over. I guess I've just seen the same factions go to war so many times. You know, like I would like a breath of fresh air.
Well, I think the interesting aspect of that is that Kenta's tried to jump the queue by attacking Naito. and Jay White defeated Ibushi earlier in the night and probably believed that that would make him the next challenger for the World Championship or the double belt if they decide to go with a double belt thing. So maybe White wasn't exactly aware that this is what Kenta had planned, and that causes some fractures between the two of them over who's kind of the top guy in the Bullet Club. And maybe that causes the divide, and half of them go with Kenta, and Kenta creates his faction, and half of them go with White, and White has his own faction. And maybe one of
The
those
only
people.
issue. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then maybe one of those factions is the one that Sonata joins when he departs from Lij.
The only issue I have with that is there is zero argument from a factual standpoint who the top dog in Bullet Club is. Only one Bullet Club member won their damn match, and that's Jay White.
Yeah, based on those statistics, that's fine. That's what White can use as his reasoning. Why I was the only person in Bullet Club, the rest of you didn't pull your weight, and that could be the thing that starts causing a bit of a divide between it. Whereas Kenta just says that he doesn't care about, not so much doesn't care about winners and losses, but he saw an opportunity and he took it, and he wanted to show that he was the top dog. So I feel like there's definitely some big storyline potential here, like to make some really like massive sizable changes. We probably won't have any like clear indication until after New Year's Dash, because that's a show where usually you take all the stuff that took place in the Wrestle Kingdom and you like take the implications and then you move forward with it. Obviously, we have some clear things that are in the pipeline already, so we don't know we don't know what's exactly happening, but we know that there's going to be some probably fallout with the Bushi. We have Moxley is going to be facing Suzuki at some point soon. We know that Kenta and Naito are going to have a match at some point fairly soon. We've got new tag team champions, so they'll be there. We've got like Hiromu and Dragon Lee or Ryu Lee will probably have some things going forward. What's going to happen with the fact that Sonata is the only person in Lij without a belt? There's a lot of things that we can move forward with. It's kind of just odd that one of the people that we have no idea what their future has in store is Okada.
Yeah, that's real interesting.
But well, I guess he'll have something. He'll have things to do. It would be interesting to see Okada challenging for a belt that isn't the world title.
You know, I know you're gonna think this is stupid and this isn't very New Japan, but what if they just pair Okada and Tanahashi for a while as like a super team and breathe some damn life into that tag team division?
They definitely could go with that path. They have been teamed up before, so they do have history as a tag team now, like very recent history. So
like kind of like Nagata and Tenzan. You know,
yeah,
I mean, they're not at that level of legendary yet, but they can start here.
yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I think there's definitely some other routes you can take with it. I think Okada could be someone that I don't know, because obviously Naito holds both the IC and the World Championship, so both those belts are pretty much out of commission until he has to drop one of them. And I assume it would end up dropping the Intercontinental title before he drops the World Championship. But there are many different ways that can go, and then there are other titles that they're available. So he might be, let's say, how about if Moxley beats Suzuki, maybe Okada is the next one to challenge Moxley for the US title.
Does Okada win the US title and kind of spearhead the New Japan and America movement?
I think Okada has to be one of the spearheads of it because he is New Japan.
He is Okada, yeah. Like
yeah.
he's just the guy. There's so many different ways you can go with it. I thought it was very successful 2 nights.
Yeah, I think the second night was a bit less than the first one. Maybe it was just to do with the overall atmosphere until the final 2 matches, where the final 2 matches were just out of this world. But everything else around it, night 1 was the better of the 2 nights. But overall, this was 2 outstanding nights of wrestling.
And I mean, we've got some strong contenders for match of the year, none of which you'll hear in December on our end of the year awards because we don't talk about New Japan on the end of the year awards.
We might try and force something for it. as somebody who has very much fallen out of complete love or interest in most of the WWE product, I might start forcing through some more New Japan content onto this channel. Because at the end of the day,
I'm
it's additional
fine with
content that
that.
I'll be recording that Tony doesn't have to get involved with and doesn't have to. He can stick with the stuff that he's like familiar with, or the stuff that is kind of his bread and butter, whereas I can fall a bit more into just reviewing big New Japan shows. Like we won't do a review show for the New
Like
Year's
the New
Dash
Beginning show.
or,
Yeah.
or News Dash, or like maybe some of the New Beginners ones if we feel like the matches are big enough. Maybe not do like
Definitely Dominion. Definitely G1
yeah.
finals.
Yeah, we'll still cover all that stuff that we did last year, but maybe just add a few more bits and pieces. Maybe even just like a month-on-month review of what things have happened and stuff like that. Just whether it's me and Rob or just me, or like I just want to add a bit more of that stuff into the mix.
I'm a
And
fan of new flavors of wrestling, and I'm always here for everything. And I would appreciate doing more New Japan content after these two shows.
yeah, and then at the end of the year, maybe we just do our own little like abridged version of the awards for New Japan instead, just to just mix it up a little bit. But that's really like really far flung in the future, and don't want to overtake things too much. Like one step at a time, really. And obviously, there are things like the Patreon, which if you aren't aware of, that's like it's a Patreon where you can donate money to help support content creators like ourselves develop more stuff. So if you want to hear more New Japan stuff, donating any amount that you can spare. Like obviously, there's the Pick Your Poison tier, which is the $50 mark. Where if you donate that, we can do a podcast of anything you're choosing. So if you want us to do a big New Japan kind of special or show, then feel free to just if you donate that, then you can tell us to do it, and we'll do it. But any amount is just a good incentive to just put out some more stuff out there in any form or
Right.
fashion.
And if we just recorded the Superstar Scores Edge, that was a Patreon sponsored one. I know over on our sister site of Fanboys Anonymous, Tony and I will be recording a watch along with the original Pokemon movie. That was requested by Guest 5, so we'll be doing that shortly. And yeah, just donate to the Patreon. If you want something physical, there are the Redbubble and TeePublic merchandise shops for not only Smark Out Moment, but also Fanboys Anonymous. Every penny helps, even if it's just the gesture of saying, hey, I see your content. I like what you put out there. I know we had received a tweet about 2001 Wrestling Odyssey that was very positive, so we appreciate all forms of recognition.
Absolutely. And if you have anything else to say, you obviously leave the comments down below. Follow Smart Moment on all of the social media profiles like Facebook and Twitter. You can join the conversation in the Mega Maniacs, which is a big Facebook group that we run with like-minded wrestling fans, just talking about, just shooting the shit on anything we feel interesting. Usually, like quite a few wrestling memes that you can find in the in the chat there. You can also just like ring the bell for notifications, everything like that. Just keep up with all the contents going out there. Check out the smallcatmoment.com website for articles from all of our like top writers. And yeah, that's I think that's pretty much covers everything. Obviously, Fanboys Anonymous on Tony's side of things for like your geek culture content.
Yeah, and if you want to follow Tony and support Tony directly, go to @TonyMango across all social media platforms. I'm @DudeFelice. You can check out what I'm doing over at Fightful.com and WrestleZone.com throughout the week, bringing you all the wrestling goodness always, because that's my job. And yeah, that's it for me.
Yep, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, just check out any ramblings that I'm throwing out there. You can follow me at Wigmeister14. And yeah, that's the end of this review. A very successful night 1 and night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. So thanks very much for listening, everybody. More New Japan content and any kinds of content going forward on the way. So this has
We've
been
got
another.
NXT UK next week. I mean, we're not stopping.
Yeah, we're not stopping NXT UK. We're going to be doing like a announce table and a Royal Rumble at some point, and obviously the Royal Rumble show at the end of the month as well. So plenty of stuff to keep you occupied. But until then, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.